Hey guys, and welcome to podcast number 45. Who
Ayo.
would have thought we would still be doing this
I didn't.
far in?
I did.
45 podcasts. Do you know how long that is? We
That's-
don't do it every week. We do it every second week.
I know,
45 is a long time.
I know.
45 fortnights.
It's almost
That's
2
90.
years.
It's a long time. It's a very long. Anyway, thank you very much for joining.
Did you ever doubt our commitment, Ben?
I doubt our commitment all the goddamn time.
What was the last video we released?
Shush.
Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. If you're checking us out on our YouTube channel, please check out our other content, our videos on games and our movie reviews, all the crazy jazz that we do.
Yeah.
If you're on SoundCloud and or iTunes, just give us some comments. Let us know what you think. And also, please jump onto Discord. We've got a bit of a community happening there.
Yep.
We would love your input. Anything you want to discuss, feel free to throw in your 2 cents.
Links to all those are in the description.
Indeedy. All right.
Watch shit with me in it.
Yes.
All right, let's go.
Promote my other podcast while I'm here.
Anyway, starting us off, we have with us Ruz,
Yo.
Adam,
Ayo.
Ryan,
Yo.
and I am hosting as Ben.
Are you there?
Yes.
Hello, Benjamin.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
Anything anyone wants to share?
I think we should start with I'm back on the Pokemon Go bandwagon. Yeah.
See, and people will like shit
Right.
on Let's Go for being like, oh, Let's
Well-
Go looks fucking garbage. But it's got integration with Pokemon Go, so I'm just going to casually start playing Pokemon Go.
Well,
again.
I'll be honest. That I was kind of okay. So a few things contributed to this, right? First off was that announcement where I kind of rolled my eyes, went, "Oh, really? All right, I guess I'll have a look again," because I have heard that it's been good.
Yes.
They've improved
I've
a lot.
had friends that have been
Yes.
playing it the entire 2 years. So that was also a factor. Was like, well, they're already playing it, so yeah, cool. I can play with them. And the third one was I was going for a trip to New Zealand. So I was like, I'm going to be doing plenty of walking. What better way to, make a game out of it than get some Pokemons and do some walking? So
Also, just to steal your thunder a little bit, I was in Hong Kong 2 months ago. I got a Farfetch'd.
I hate you.
Oh, nice.
Do you have one fast
I
fetch?
have a single Farfetch'd.
Do you remember like?
Because I have plenty of Relicanths, which are New Zealand's exclusive.
We can.
All right. You
trade
know what this? You know
shit
what
now.
this means, Ryan?
What's that?
We need to go to Japan.
Yeah, we do.
Well, do you remember like I tried to find Farfetch when Ben and I were in Japan and I couldn't fucking find one.
Yeah.
It was the only time I opened the app in the last
So I think
2 years.
our first
Legitimately,
podcast
it's
was
like,
about
fuck.
Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So I think as a
It all
callback,
comes full circle.
it all comes full circle. I think
That's
it's
it.
worth.
Turn the lights off. We're fucking done here.
End podcast forever.
I think it's worth mentioning. Like, I mean, obviously, a few things have changed in 2 years. So
Really?
they just recently introduced
Trading,
friending and battling.
Have they put
Sorry,
footsteps back in
friending
again?
and trading. I've already got. What's that?
They ever put
They didn't
footsteps
put
back in again?
They didn't put
the
footsteps
tracker.
back
The
in, but they
tracker.
put in a different,
Yeah.
better, in my opinion, way of
Yeah.
tracking.
So what they've actually added is like there's still
But that
got,
was a while
they've
ago,
got the Pokemon list of nearby. You click on it. You click the footprint button, right? And it shows you where it is.
The actual
like
location.
on the map. It just
Like,
goes.
it'll be
"Boop,
like,
it's
this
here."
is the icon. Like
Oh.
it's the stop. It's the
Very cool.
iconic item. Like
Very
landmark is the
Yeah.
word I was looking for.
So rather than fighting, so when I quit the game was about when we were trying to shut down all the trackers.
Yeah.
Because they were what was breaking the footsteps mechanic. So rather than try and fight them after shutting it down, they actually just put that in the game.
Yeah.
Not
So the
exactly
other
the
thing,
same,
the other
but
thing to
yeah.
note as well is that when we were still playing, the game was hilariously bugged. The servers were always crashing because half the world was trying to play at the same time. None of that's happening anymore. Like it's a little bit more mature. There's no more crashes.
But
and
now
no-
no one's playing the game. It runs great.
pretty much.
There are significantly less people playing
you know,
it.
it
This
just
is true.
occurred
There are still a significant amount of
You
people.
know,
playing.
it just occurred to me as you were talking about Go and you getting back into it because of the trailer. Is Let's Go cashing in on the Go hype, or is Let's Go
It's revitalizing it.
Nintendo attempt to revitalize the original application?
Why not both?
Both.
A little
it's,
bit of both.
I think it's leveraging off people saying, "Hey, I played Pokemon Go a few years ago. Hey, there's a game on Switch that's kind of like that," and they'll go, "Oh, cool," and they'll get on through that.
Anecdotally, I think it's actually a move to try and broaden Pokemon to a wider, more mainstream audience. I mean, yeah,
Which is
Pokemon
exactly
itself
what
is
Go
mainstream,
did.
right? But that's exactly right.
Pokemon, the concept, the pop culture concept is mainstream. Mainstream.
Mainstream.
The games
Mainstream.
are not.
That's right. The games are
Absolutely not.
Not mainstream. They are technically bullshit, full of hidden information and weird mechanics.
I have 3 people, all
Yeah.
of which who are like, why would you play Pokemon? It's dumb. Who are now playing Pokemon Go
Yeah.
because it's actually a little bit of fun, and they're like, oh, I like this, and this is actually kind of fun. It's kind of interesting. It gets new people in.
And it also convinces people that would be like, well, I like Pokemon Go, but I don't like. I would never buy a Switch. I wouldn't buy a DS. I don't want to play a Pokemon game, but I like Pokemon Go because it's on my phone.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like the way you play because it's easy.
It's
You flip
casual,
balls
and
whatever.
I can throw
And the
it,
thing is, and now a game has come out to be like, well, let's try and convert those people into Pokemon players of other games we make, like trying to convert them like as a new demographic to pitch.
I'm not
games
saying
to.
that everyone that picks up Pokemon Go is going to like Pokemon Let's Go,
No,
but
absolutely not.
you might get a couple of people who are like, oh, that looks pretty interesting, and integrates what I've already got. I'll give it a go.
I think I said this as well last time as well, but like I showed the trailer to Leah and Leah was like, yeah, I'll play that. Like she was like totally down for
Straight
it.
up interested. Yeah.
And she doesn't even play Pokemon Go, but she was just like, hey, it looks like an easy version of
fun.
Pokemon and we can play co-op and
Yeah.
looks like fun.
Sweet.
So yeah.
All right, so we're back on Pokemon Go, people.
Okay.
Buzz. Anything? new?
Right, so following the E3 cast last week, I bought Hollow Knight for Switch.
Yeah, I've been looking at that.
Because it had been like sort of on my to play list for a while, but I just never sort of gotten around to it. Yeah, I made a huge mistake not playing it for so long.
Sooner.
The game's fantastic, 10
Oh,
out of
really?
10. Holy smokes, I've enjoyed it
Hollow Knight.
Really?
far more than any other game I've played for the last couple of years.
Heaps of people have been like saying, I got it on Switch, it's so good. And I was just like, I actually haven't got that much on I've been playing more Switch and I was like,
Rundown. What's the
Rundown. It is a how should I describe this? It is a post Dark Souls Metroidvania.
gist? Ooh.
Which probably doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people.
So what that means is that it is a game. It's a 2D game where you sort of jump around and fight monsters and explore a large interconnecting world.
cool.
You find upgrades that increase your capability and mobility and change your fighting style, and you eventually
Sounds kind of like Shovel Knight at the moment.
Shovel Knight's more linear.
But
Okay.
this one's
Yeah.
more Metroidy.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and when I say it's post Dark Souls, I mean that it's like most Metroidvanias aren't particularly difficult. You know, it's there's sort of like
the difficulty
challenge
comes
there,
through like distance between save states.
yeah,
basically.
and getting lost and having to explore and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. But it's sort of like the game is always designed so that you have the tools that you need when you need them. Things that might seem insurmountable early get sort of trivialized by an upgrade you might get later, etc., etc. Shovel Knight's not really like that. It's,
I mean, Hollow Knight.
Sorry, Shovel Knight. Hollow Knight's not really like that. It's pretty tough all the way through.
Okay.
So it's kind of gone with the
Yeah.
I hold nothing back Dark
Yeah.
Souls-esque.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. I mean, having not played Dark Souls, I don't want to be all like, it's the Dark Souls of Metroidvania.
No, it's the Metroid of Dark Souls.
Yeah, or something like that. Because I don't want to suggest that it's a harder game than Dark Souls. It's not.
But it's in the hard game
I think.
basket.
Yeah.
I mean, the Dark Souls difficulty
Yeah.
meme, if you will,
Yeah.
sort of comes out of the idea that games were becoming too easy.
Yeah.
And so then you have.
But
these-
it's sort of like the bosses will kick your ass if you're not paying attention.
The
You
normal
they
characters
do
will kick your ass if you're not paying
yeah,
attention.
in both Hollow Knight and Dark Souls.
And
yeah.
any other Dark Souls game.
If you're not paying attention, you do need to actually pay attention to their
The
patterns.
patterns, yeah. Similar thing
And
with Lords of
when
the
you
Fallen.
when you die, you lose all your money and you have to go back and get it.
Can you? Yeah, you go
Yeah.
pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exact same
Yeah.
thing.
It sounds. It also still sounds very Shovel Knight.
There's
Like
very
you
there's,
are
yeah,
naming
there's very
Shovel Knight
there's very
mechanics.
few there's less save points than in an average Metroidvania. There's very few fast travel options.
So when you die
yeah.
and lose your money, do
Yeah.
you lose your experience as well?
There's no experience. In this game.
Okay. So in the one that I'm playing,
Yeah.
Lords of the Fallen, you lose your experience.
Yep.
And you can go back and pick it up, but
Yeah.
it deteriorates over time. So if you lose like 800 experience,
So in Hollow Knight, when you die, you leave a shade behind.
Yeah,
so you
same
have to go back. You have to go back and fight the shade to get your money back.
oh,
You have to
that's
go back and fight the
interesting.
shade to get your money back. You have to do so whilst only being able to store 2/3 as much mana at any given time
I
as
love
normal.
that.
That's really cool.
That's an awesome
And
mechanic.
if you die again before getting there, or die to your own shade, you lose the money.
Just lose it straight up.
Also,
Which happened to me. I lost $2,000. It sucked.
Can you save that? Like, can you put it in a bank?
Yes.
Okay, good. Oh, thank God.
But I lost it just before I reached the bank.
Yes.
Because there's only one of them, and it's in a kind of a far-flung zone.
Also, just looked it up. Australian studio.
Yep.
Team Cherry.
Some dudes from Adelaide.
Yep.
Nice.
It's pretty great. Anyway, the game
City of Church.
Anyway, the game is like $17 on Switch. If this comes out before the Steam sales are over, it's like 10 USD there at the moment. Just go buy it. It's fantastic.
As of 2 days ago, it sold over 1 million copies in 2 weeks.
Good stuff.
So that's fucking kicking ass. That's awesome.
So it is
When-
on
once-
on Steam and not just Switch, is what you're saying.
It is. You can. Okay, so it is released on PC, Mac, Linux, and Nintendo Switch.
The only console that it's released on.
Yep.
Yeah, the only console that matters.
Once I finally get my Switch, I will get it.
Yeah.
I have more games than I have console now.
So is it better served on PC than Switch? That's an excellent question. I was waiting for the Switch.
Is it worth people buying?
I was waiting
putting
for the Switch
$400?
release because I like having Metroidvanias that I can play on the go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Me
played
too.
it.
That's why
Yeah.
I will definitely buy it on Switch instead
but
of PC.
I reckon it's good enough that you should just buy it on whatever platform you use the most.
All right, moving on from that. Number one, more lawsuits. I mean, I feel like we would have nothing to talk about if there wasn't some sort of
People would just
YouTube
start
drama,
suing each
if
other.
people weren't suing each other. We'd just be like, oh, hey. So
We just sit there on Reddit refreshing, going, "Come on, someone sue somebody."
Drama, please.
So, Adam, you like games? That would be the content of our podcast otherwise.
I love games. See you guys next time.
Good game. Really good game.
Anyway.
love games.
Most recent controversial, or not even controversial, recent suings is, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Bethesda
Yep.
suing Warner Brothers.
Yes, on copyright. Not copyright. Yeah, copyright.
It would
Because
be
it's
copyright.
it's source code stealing, which is a little bit different from what you would consider like the copyright normally in a game.
Yeah.
But basically, the long and short of it is,
So this isn't just a bullshit lawsuit like PUBG versus Fortnite.
this isn't a bullshit. Okay,
Yeah.
this isn't a bullshit lawsuit. This isn't a lawsuit between like a big company and a little guy or a little company.
Yep.
It's a big company via big company. Because we got to remember, Bethesda is actually owned by ZeniMax Media.
Yes.
Yeah. they're fucking huge.
They're not a small company. They're not a lowly
Massive.
little game dev. But the long
That was
story
a company
short is,
trying to buy out Ubisoft, weren't they?
yes.
Yep.
Oh my god, that would be scary.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
There's okay. So
ZeniMax.
the background to this story is that
Sorry, my mind's just spiraled off thinking about an Ubisoft Elder Scrolls with towers and shit.
there's a story. The background between Bethesda and Warner Brothers is that they were working together to do something. Now, it wasn't necessarily a game. It was just something that, long story short, Warner Brothers people had access to Bethesda's trade secrets, source code repository, and all that sort of stuff. Warner Brothers also wanted to develop their Westworld game, which is what this lawsuit's about. A substantial amount of the Fallout Shelter game code is in the Westworld game. And that's what Bethesda's suing about. And in a kind of a, I guess, ironic twist of fate, Bethesda's actually pointing at a lot of the bugs that are in Fallout Shelter going, see, this bug occurs here, this bug occurs in the Westworld game, ergo, you've used the same buggy code. Which,
we don't have
it's
buggy
a Bethesda
code.
game.
We don't create code that has bugs.
Yeah, it's a bit of a meme that like Skyrim and Fallout, it's just buggy as hell.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean the memes write themselves, don't they? It's not just like, oh, Bethesda games are buggy, her. It's like
Yeah. Well,
and it's sort of like, oh, all these cookie clicker mobile games are all the same.
Yeah.
Except when they're literally the same.
yeah. So
It's like, what do I even have to add to this? It's like a self-writing meme.
yeah. So the three that I can remember, the three main topics of this podcast, what's it called? Lawsuit.
Yes.
Is trade secret violation, like theft of copyright and stuff, and breach of contract.
I think they tracked it
and-
because there was a whole bunch of people working on it was literally, they know individuals that were working on the Bethesda.
Yeah.
No,
that's the thing.
On the Fallout
There
game, and they
was-
literally just would have been like, I'm leaving the project, the USB thumb drive, bye. Like,
Yeah, it's basically something like that because, like I said, that there was some sort of business arrangement between Warner Brothers and Bethesda in that Warner Brothers people had access to Bethesda's stuff.
Oh,
they were under NDAs and contract. And all that
there was
crap.
actually like a licensing there, but they were like licensed on the fact of like you can look at it but don't use it.
I don't know. I don't know the
that.
gory details, and like I said, it might not necessarily have been even directly to do with the making of a Westworld game or the making of a game in general. But there was something. Maybe there was art design or something that was being contracted out. That sort of stuff.
You know what it sounds like to me? It almost sounds like the situation like what happened with Valve and their Source Engine licenses. You know, like when you like there was like a level of licensing for the Source Engine where you got access to some of the assets, and then they leaked a bunch of stuff from the cancelled Half-Life 3.
Yeah.
And then it suddenly got a lot harder to get a Source Engine license.
Yeah.
This isn't gonna happen anymore. Never again.
Yeah.
I think so. So on this kind of, this is a straight up breach of contract. Like there's no ifs or buts about it. Like Warner Brothers is probably pretty screwed on.
I mean,
this.
obviously it's still in the allegations phase, so we have to say allegedly. But this is
Warner
all.
Brothers, you're screwed.
Allegedly, you're allegedly fucked.
But I mean, it's like this seems honestly. It almost seems too clean. It's like this is exactly what
We did something wrong, we got caught doing it.
This is exactly what these lawsuits are meant to be used for, as opposed to all the other things they get used.
I know
for.
that's the thing. It's like I looked at it and went, "Wow, a legitimate copyright claim and trade secret claim and breach of contract." Wow,
There'll be nothing to it. It's just like, hey, you did wrong. We have proof.
It is just interesting in the sense that Fallout Shelter was kind of cool and interesting enough that big old Warner Brothers decided to use it for their Westworld game.
But it just seems a bit. It's very strange to be like arguing on the side of copyright when normally when it comes up on this podcast we're raging at Nintendo for squashing some poor innocent fan game, you know.
Or for that matter, any YouTuber.
Yeah. So the point there is previously it's always around, is it though or isn't it? It's like, coming back to the PUBG. What's the other one?
PUBG versus Fortnite.
Fortnite.
What's the other one? The other one? You mean the game that has the most players out of any game in the world at the moment?
Yeah, whatever, man. PUBG versus Fortnite.
I played it once. I wasn't impressed.
Literally, I played 15 minutes. I was like,
of what? Fortnite or PUBG?
Fortnite.
I mean.
Anyway, let's not get into that.
All right.
The point is, there was that lawsuit that got brought up and has now been canned of going, is it though? Is it really a copyright thing?
Fortnite has a fry pan, therefore it's a copy.
It's like it's just two different things and stuff like that. Whereas this is straight up just, there's no contention whatsoever.
Well, I mean, okay. At the same time, like I said, it is all at the stage allegedly, right? It's like it is a lawsuit and it is happening, but we can't say for sure whether this. I mean, there is the chance that two people could create the same code and therefore the same bug. It's not a big highly doubt it.
We're all in software development. We can say that for a fact. Pretty fucking unlikely.
I know.
Pretty fucking unlikely.
I am perfectly capable of making my own unique bugs. Thank you very much.
That shit is
one person, not two different people.
The reason why I brought
one person will write code, try to write it again, and do it differently.
The reason why I brought it up is actually Oracle v Google, where Android was said to infringe on Java for copying certain libraries and frameworks and that sort of stuff. And like Google's thing was like, you're talking about like 15 lines of code, and if two people had to write 15 lines of code or had to solve a problem, very well might they write the same code.
Exact same lines of code. When you're talking libraries,
well, that's the thing. Like Oracle's thing was like, you've copied the entirety of Java for Android. And they ended up winning on only that 15 lines of code. And it's like, only this part infringes, the rest of it's fine. But like, my point is, it is possible. It does happen.
It does.
So,
but just throwing back to that, when you're talking libraries and again, 15 lines of code, it's shit that's so common. Yeah. It's just like, what do you expect people to do? Like find a obscure workaround way to do the same thing that you've done, just so that you avoid copyright in that sense.
But then this is the thing; it's about willful knowledge, right? If you're copying it, right, then okay, you've copied it. But if you're writing something and it's different,
if
you
you're
think
writing
you can
from
prove
scratch.
it's like, I haven't looked at this, or whatever.
And
Anyway.
it's like, should we have to keep like in the back of our hands? Oh, I'd better do this in the least obvious way possible because otherwise I might be infringing copyright. No,
But then,
that's stupid.
what
Yeah,
if
it is.
you were
It's
to
stupid.
do that with that in mind and still do the same code as someone else?
Then must have been some pretty whack code.
It makes me think back to those like university coding
Assignments.
things. And remember they used to say, "Oh, we've got like like automated
a
systems
tool
that
to
will
detect plagiarism.
whether you've plagiarized because like the line count will be the same and all those same operations happening." But it's like you're getting us to write like a
Give us
random or a
very
sort function.
specific
Yeah.
instructions on what to create.
Yeah.
Chances are there's going to be some similarity.
But chances are somebody else is also going to submit the snippet from Stack Overflow. That's the first result on Google.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Hey,
chances are
you're saying that like you don't do that in your job day to day.
Oh yeah, but
But I'm allowed to do that in my job.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm
the
allowed
difference
to do that now.
is he's a professional. He uses the answer and not the question code. Not the broken code. He uses the answer.
love it. Love it.
Anyway,
Also, I just want to have a quick addendum as well that I just said that ZeniMax was the one that was trying to buy out Ubisoft. It's not. I got mistaken. It's Vivendi.
And who do they already own?
Vivendi actually don't own that much in the way of gaming.
they are just a media company.
They're massive media conglomerate. Well, so is ZeniMax as well.
Yeah,
But the big ones that you would know is like the Universal Music Group, and Dailymotion.
Universal
Yeah, for a
Music
sec.
Group.
Yes.
There you go.
So they are fucking huge, but they're a French company and they own a whole bunch of other French subsidiaries that we probably wouldn't know of. But yeah.
UmbrellaCorp.exe.
Yes.
That's
Well,
the
ZeniMax is the same, and they're a media company as well. I think they own.
Reminds me of like Unilever, like the toiletries and like household products company.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's
they
like
own
they
everything.
own every brand.
They
like
own the world.
name a cleaning product and they own it.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody want to argue on the side of Warner Brothers?
I'll be devil's
This'll be-
advocate. So okay, how am I going to defend this?
Let me think long and hard.
So you saw two sides, one of which is the devil, and you're like, "Hey man, that guy could really use an advocate."
I see where he's coming from.
Oh, I swear I heard a joke about that. It's just like, that's not how you play a devil's advocate. The devil doesn't care about the shit that you guys deal with day in, day out. You know how you play devil's advocate? You go, I like what you're saying, but how would you like to sell your soul to the devil? That's how you play devil's advocate. Anyway, I feel like we've...
Could it be more evil? Yes. And I'm going to tell you how.
All right, I think we can move on to our next topic.
Let's sell the rights to EA.
Next topic that we wanted to talk about
Yo.
good old Australian government and money.
Which one?
Money.
Which one?
GST.
GST? Okay, not the loot boxes. We'll come to that.
We're
later.
gonna- Are we actually? No, hold the fucking phone. Are we going to talk about GST on this gaming news podcast?
GST
Yes.
about games.
Tell me now how this is relating back to games.
Okay,
I think
so,
we've lost three of our 5 listeners when you said GST.
Wait for it. It gets interesting. We're talking taxes.
You've lost another one. We've got one left.
GST is taxes.
Our one listener,
support.
our one listener is
ATO
super erect though. He's so ready for this
the
conversation.
ATO
I think-
wants to basically tax Steam and other online distributors.
Before we get into that, I think we need to educate people on how taxes work.
No. No, we
sit
don't.
down and buckle.
Do you want to actually, for anyone that's explain what the GST is? What it
General
stands for?
sales tax. It is a sales tax applied to every sale that you make, whether it's a cup of coffee in the morning or a brand new car.
Yes, goods and services.
Goods and services?
Goods and services.
Yes.
Okay.
that.
Done. Explain.
Done.
Sorry.
Okay.
Jumping back to
10%.
So I specifically liked this this announcement by the ATO only because of the way they it's almost like they're throwing shade at Steam, right? Because you got to remember, like a little while ago, Valve and Steam got a ton of trouble for not paying tax in Australia
Yes.
And not allowing refunds.
and not allowing refunds.
Yes.
Something Australian consumer law.
Yes.
So they got in heaps of trouble, had to pay a huge fine, and then you get
No, but
censors.
their excuse was sort of like, oh, but we don't specifically sell to the Australian market because we sell everything in USD.
Yeah.
US dollars.
And you're like, well, no, you
It
sell.
charges my card in AUD. When
Yeah.
I buy it. So,
Anyway, so they're like, from July the 1st, Australian goods will apply to sales of low-value goods imported by consumers. And when they say imported, they also mean electronic digital goods. And then this is why I think it's quite fitting. They go, these businesses may be merchants who sell goods, electronic distribution platform operators, or redeliverers. It's just like, yeah, you're basically just talking about Steam there.
You may sell goods, you may be Steam, or you may be electronic.
hey, you're paying GST, motherfucker.
Whether you're selling cheap HDMI cables from China, video games from Steam, Valve.
That's right, Gabe. We're talking to you.
Hey, fucking tax.
Yeah, so I just thought it was interesting, and it does mean for the average consumer, prices of games are probably going to go up. Also, we may see them to start advertising games in AUD instead of USD on Steam.
I don't think that's particularly likely.
I think it is because it's about... Yeah, anyway, it doesn't really matter.
But that means that they won't. Okay, that means that they won't be able to get away with selling COD at like $89 in Australia because it'll immediately be like 150 and people will be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but
I-
to a
I-
point, you disagree on the taxing piece.
Well, I mean, like, my position on this isn't exactly particularly well thought out. I'll be quite upfront, but it's sort of like, I don't want to pay more money.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I don't want to pay more money. I don't necessarily think that it's wrong that the tax should apply universally, but I have several procedural objections, such as, isn't it going to cost them more to enforce this than they'll actually get in revenue?
Well, how? Like, why?
I think, okay, look, that the whole point of this is to get money off people selling from internationally to Australia, right? The only people this is going to affect is big companies. Yeah. You're not going to have Mr. Whatever from China selling his HDMI cables. He's not going to pay tax.
What about people on Etsy though?
Yeah.
Etsy,
What about
eBay, Amazon? I reckon all.
What
of them
about
are
one of those like independent Chinese shop fronts? If you go there and you buy your cheap goods, you can't tell me that they are going to be reporting the tax.
When
to the
you buy
ATO.
stuff that gets shipped to you,
Yeah.
what does it say on the customs receipt? It says gift, because they're already dodging around tax stuff.
Yeah. Oh, no matter how you're taxing things, people will always dodge, like in some way, shape, or form. To your point around Etsy, though, Etsy is a middleman.
Individual sellers.
It's hey, I need this thing. Etsy's just like, this guy sells it, this random person. So that will still have like that. I feel like that's a unique situation.
But same with eBay.
Okay, here's the crux of my objection.
Yeah.
I actually don't think they're I don't actually don't think they're going to get back even close to 100% of the GST that needs to be charged.
No,
Because
God no.
Yeah.
No chance.
But the thing is though, at that point, and this is me putting my fucking socialist hat on, is like, you'd still need tax law to be there because companies dodge it does not mean that we go, oh well, I guess companies are dodging,
No one
so I
wants
guess
to pay it,
and no one wants to pay it, so I guess we just scrap
don't
it and
need it.
fuck our public education. Yeah,
Except this money's not going to public education.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
I do understand that. In my fucking world, this is like, yeah, cool. Except we're getting fucking tax.
Yeah,
breaks
no, honestly,
fucking
that's
three people home and
honestly,
fuck them. Yeah.
that's probably fair. And I don't really have a problem with it philosophically.
Yes.
I just question how effective it's actually going to be.
That is true.
Yeah.
No,
So to your earlier point
agree.
of why they were arguing in the first place about not paying tax and going, but we're selling US, and why do we need to pay tax? Like, it's the Australians coming to us rather than us going to them to sell. That makes sense to me, actually. That makes sense to me to say, if I have a storefront and I am paying tax where I am, and other people choose to then come. Like, imagine if you're physically going to the States to buy it.
but that's what Amazon does. Amazon literally blocked Australians from accessing Amazon.com.
Yeah.
Literally, you cannot do it. You have to be. They redirect you to
.com.au.
.au.
Yes.
And .au will have a small
market.
market. Guess what? They don't fucking care.
Yeah, actually, and that's another reason that I'm not super keen on it. In that it's based in that companies may choose to leave the Australian market rather than comply.
But what they'll do,
Which is essentially what Amazon's done. Have you been to Amazon Australia? It's a fucking joke compared to the international sites.
yeah, but the thing is though, for GST, you at least have the benefit of just saying, well, we're just going to raise the price by 10%.
Yeah.
They're going to have to pay it. Oh well.
Yeah. So there are definitely caveats and different points to this, but I think as a whole, your point stands to say we are taxing
A big
goods
company,
and services
yeah.
in general. We're not gonna let you slide because you're just like a little side piece. They were just like, they're okay. They don't need to pay taxes. Everybody needs to pay taxes.
But then again,
feel-
we're also talking about taxing gamer a person 10% when we're looking at companies like Apple that pay zero tax in Australia.
We need to change topics
Zero
before this
tax.
goes full political.
Zero. To me, I'm like, okay, cool. I pay an extra $1 or $2 on a game I buy on a Steam sale versus how many millions that
Apple's dodgy.
Apple just goes, I don't have it. I'm sorry. It's in the Cayman Islands. I don't even know about it.
We all know that Apple is evil. There's no question about it.
It would be nice if they actually paid tax. That would be good.
Can you imagine?
I feel like a multinational company shouldn't be able to get away with paying less tax
So
than I do.
I agree that everyone pays tax, and we should say, oh well, if they are selling to Australian markets, then they should be paying GST. I understand that argument. I also understand that I don't really want to have to pay 10%, and we're really counting nickels compared to dollars here, right?
Pretty much.
So
Anyway,
don't bring Apple into conversation.
They're scum. That's just an outlier.
All right.
Apple are scum. News at 11.
If you pick up nothing else in this conversation,
does anyone
it's that Apple is
here currently own an iPhone?
No.
Good shit.
Samsung probably don't pay taxes. The system's rigged, I tell you. I'm just gonna fucking get my red flag and start waiting now.
Well, we're still talking about government and politics and policies.
No.
The other thing that you wanted to bring up was with regards to classifications. One of our favorite things ever when it comes to Australia.
You should pay the
and
government,
games.
make sure the government gets things. Next topic, fuck the government.
How fitting is that?
We're just flipping on the fucking dime.
Forget all the other topics. That's our fucking podcast title. Fuck the government.
Oh my god.
No.
In some things we
So,
agree, in
please
other
support-
things we hate the government.
Please
support
support
the
the government. Also, fuck the government.
Not authorised by the Australian government, Canberra.
Jesus.
Oh my god. Okay.
Oh, for God.
Okay.
So we're back talking about video game age classifications.
Yes.
Correct.
So, a game that we mentioned, I want
while
to say
back.
2 or 3 podcasts ago.
I think didn't we bring this up during the E3 wrap up?
We did.
We happy few.
We'll cover it again now.
We Happy
Really?
Few got refused classification.
Actually,
That
I
is
know
the
what
old
that
news. The new news is that they're getting reassessed because of, I guess they reapplied for it, or they said please appeal.
They appealed.
They appealed?
Please don't
Okay,
ban us.
so
Hold on,
here's
hold
the
on, hold
interesting
on,
thing,
hold
because I want to know whether the board is potentially weakening or the game developers went, okay, well, fuck, we'll make changes.
That's a good point. I didn't actually check that.
Oh,
Carl, you're up.
I've seen this before. Just the
So
trailer
as a
pictures
recap,
around
while
it.
the guys look it up,
we
Happy
might not know.
Few.
We might not have the information yet because we don't know what was submitted.
Yeah,
but
We Happy Few is a game that
look great.
looked okay, but it's basically a cross of Brave New World, the book.
Okay, it doesn't.
It's a great book.
Okay, it doesn't say who asked it to be reviewed, but it says that the classification review board has received an application to review the classification of the computer game We Happy Few. This is from the official
Australian government.
government press release. It doesn't say who sent the application. It just says that they received one.
Well, they wouldn't. It would have had to be in the developers. It's not.
I can't imagine anybody else
They-
caring enough to want it to be reviewed.
You know,
Well,
10,000 of our most concerned citizens had a change.org petition, and we decided to take another look at the issue. No, they don't give a fuck. The game developer paid another $1 million to get the game reclassified.
Speaking of petitions, I just have to bring up, there was a great little meme that was like a petition, like a screenshot. and it was like, please change all stop signs to go.
There was a
Please change the color of all red stop signs to blue.
there was a random one that was like changed the official name of the Australian currency to dollary dues, and that got some serious backing.
If I'd known about it, I would back that.
You'd put your name and address on a petition for dollary dues.
I would put my name.
100%. Okay, so what I've taken out of those last two topics is that we collectively understand the need for government, but we hate the shit job that they're doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, the thing is,
Yeah,
you
because
got to
we have a liberal
remember.
government. That's why.
You got to remember,
well,
the
actually-
government
Or
is an
LNP
umbrella
government,
term
people know.
comprising of many different things.
Well,
right?
hang on. Let's bring
And
this
people
back.
are scum. Therefore, government is scum. QED.
Whoa. Okay, memes aside, let's bring this back on topic.
Okay.
The classification board actually has been improving and doesn't do a unit. And this isn't just sort of like, they're all clowns. They never get it right. They actually do get it right most of the time, and at least
Yeah.
they have since the introduction of the R18 rating.
Yes.
correct.
There have
Which
been
was
more
a-
games coming out in R18.
which was
that
a
has-
major step forward.
And it has
Correct.
been
Okay.
a thing they have used.
Now here's the thing. All ratings boards around the world have sensitivities, and it seems like one of Australia's big ones is drug use.
Yeah.
Especially drug use portrayed in a good way.
Yes. And
Even though We Happy Few is a
not in a good way.
no, but it's a
Yeah.
dystopia. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Your character has to take
But
drugs.
your game progress is significantly easier if you decide to take the drug. That was the problem.
Right.
Interesting.
Yes.
So drugs are good, you say?
I just love the idea of like, if a game is R18, like an 18-year-old doesn't realize that, oh man, maybe if I take drugs like I do in We Happy Few, maybe life gets easier.
Maybe my life will be better.
I need to call my dealer and see where I can get some of this joy. Is that the thing that truly exists in the real world 100% of the time?
Yeah, like it's just
It draws
it's still
some serious
funny.
parallels to the Brave New World.
And then everyone consistently just says, well, what about the kids though? I'm like, the game's R18.
Yeah.
The game is R18.
Yeah.
I've seen incidents where young kids have been talking to me about their favorite game, and it's been GTA, and I'm just like,
Yeah. At
I
that
don't
point,
want to tell you, but you should be playing that fucking game.
AustralianParents.exe.
But like,
How dare my kids get access to this? Gives kids access to this.
Exactly.
It's
the
sort of
rating
like,
system exists for a reason. You can't just say because of the children, because R18, they are not children.
So
and if you're worried kids playing it, it's a possibility. But then that's your job as a fucking parent.
And I think that's why this whole business still rubs the gaming community so strongly. And it's because there still seems to be, even with the advent of the R18, there still seems to be
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but we need an ad campaign that's basically you wouldn't download a car, but it's you wouldn't take your kid to a porno.
Maybe. but it's sort of, it's like there still seems to be this attitude by the classification board that games are inherently a juvenile medium and should be held to
Kids.
closer-
Think of the
closer
children's
scrutiny.
standards.
Scrutiny.
To
Closer
a
scrutiny.
different standard
So
than other
I
forms of
think
media.
as much shit as we've given the games classification board as a whole, I kind of see where they're coming from in that sense of they're like, this is all we can do. We can stop really bad shit from being available. That's like that's the intent of it. And for the things that are available, we can give you guidelines to say, hey,
This is the same
this is not a-
classification board that allowed a Serbian film classification as R.
What, in Australia?
Yeah.
I'm
I'm pretty sure it got classified as R.
classified in Australia.
My point
That's
there
my point.
is my point there to Roz's point is that video games are treated differently to movies and the such and other art forms because it's still seen as a juvenile.
So why is that?
But
Why is that
also-
appropriate?
Also, devil's advocate though, they do need to be treated differently because they are an interactive medium. They're different to a film.
Yeah, I do agree on that, but not on the point of the juvenility.
I still
of
think
it.
no, they should be treated like an adult piece of media.
But
But the
my-
reason
my
is people
point
go
is-
drugs, not because drugs in film get shown. We have movies with drug use, people go see Train Spotting, but the thing is, it's just like
in the game you're actively
your character is taking the drugs.
But my point there is to say, like, I can almost get where the classification board is coming from in this sense.
They're wrong, but I get it.
Almost. Very, very almost, because they're just like, people are going to be letting their kids play these games that are more interactive, more involved. Yeah.
Except I think, on that point, I think you do actually need to show proof of age when you buy an R18 game.
You do, but then again, people.
But the parent will buy it and give it to their kid. So I can see some people going, I know that people are not the brightest and will allow kids to see these things, so I will control and restrict it more to prevent that for the greater good. But whereas on the other side, it's like, no, you should not have that control. If you put in your guidelines, that's your job. Yeah. It's up to them. It's on them if they do the wrong thing with their kids.
Then you're covered because he goes, my kid was traumatized by playing this game. You're like, yeah, the game's R18. How'd they get it? He wanted it because his friends are playing it, so I bought it for him. Well, there's your problem.
In my point of view, it's not about being covered. It's about I think this is morally right, so I'm going to restrict this.
Did people go through the same conversation about movies like 40 or 50 years ago?
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's why the movie board exists. The review board exists for movies. Like this is not a new thing.
Is it just a matter of time?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said,
is it just the fact that we are?
By the time you're
is it just the fact that we are like game culture critics, hobbyists that exist at the point where the medium is still relatively young?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is the quite frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Right? That's the thing. That was deliberately played down at the time because swearing was such a taboo back then. That's why it was actually controversial to say I don't give a damn because anyway. Yeah.
But to that point, we are already seeing progress. The introduction of R18, just things coming through. There is progress, and if we can
tangent on that topic, right? Because I know we've just spent the entire last 15 minutes saying fuck the government, and the 15 minutes before that saying thank you government.
We love you government.
Pay the taxes.
We are now going to say that the Australian government is reconsidering the loot boxes, basically.
Yes,
they're going to. So we're back to government being good, right?
We're back to the government being good, and we're back to the censorship board being good.
We've talked about censorship. Oh my god!
No, because
we're also back to loot boxes, everyone's favorite podcast topic.
I swear we've talked about loot boxes like 10 times.
If we can,
it's because 2017 was the year of the loot box,
and 2018 is the hangover from the year of the loot box. So I mean, not much to really say here. The Australian government has at the state level, it's been a mixed bag. Some states have said, yeah, loot boxes are all good. Other ones have said, no, they're terrible. So the federal government's taken up the mantle, and they are running an inquiry, which should, I guess, finish by about August, September, into the state of loot boxes, and they are accepting public submissions. So get in there and tell them what you think of loot boxes.
I love them.
Love them. I'm a 29-year-old white male. I have plenty of disposable income. I love my loot boxes.
Fucking showing my privilege.
Adam walking stereotype Wilcock.
Having said that, like I said, I'm also a 29-year-old white male who also doesn't mind loot boxes in games, but I can admit that it's being ridiculous.
No, absolutely.
And I also think that
implementations.
And the reason why I sort of say, it should be taken into consideration, right? It should be, you have MA15 plus, and then they list all the things that are in the game. They say violence, they say nudity,
gambling,
they don't say gambling.
I think they should put it on the label and then.
My opinion of loot boxes is probably totally out of touch and incredibly selfish in that I strongly dislike them. Not because they're victimizing me or because I couldn't afford them, but because I hate what they're doing to game design.
Yeah, me too.
That's a completely fair point.
It's making people fucking lame.
I hate pay to win economies, basically.
And we've had this discussion before. It just really depends on the implementation. If you can still play through the game as you would without caring about the loot boxes.
But even in situations where the contents of the loot, I mean, we're retreading old ground here. But even in the situations where the contents of loot boxes are quote unquote only cosmetic, that is still a distinct change in game design from previous years, where that would have been
skill point,
and that would have been achievement based, skill point based, time played based, or just straight paid DLC.
Yeah.
Any of which are in my opinion preferable to a gambling model.
Yeah,
But
And
see,
that's right. I think it's gambling. Put me on record.
I also think it's gambling.
I don't think
where
any
I
of
want
us
to
disagree is that it's gambling.
No.
where I want to jump in is I want to say, like, I think it's almost like the death of many cuts, right? Like 20 years ago, even, right? Like PS2 era sort of thing. Well, that's 10 years ago, isn't it? Yes, whatever. 15 years ago, ish.
It's
Close
middle
enough.
ground. Yes.
2004. Let's go with that.
Roll with
While
it.
ago.
A while ago,
Carl was 85.
games had those sort of cosmetic things,
going
right?
up.
Like you could like you were saying, right? You could unlock cosmetics and stuff like that through like skills or doing random stuff, right? Then we got to the paid DLC part where it's like, oh, buy this thing which comes, your character can wear a new hat. Everyone railed against that.
Does everyone remember the first cosmetic paid DLC?
No.
Oblivion's horse armor.
Yes,
Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
Do you remember how ludicrous everyone thought it was at the time?
Yes.
And now we are here in 2018 pining for that model back.
That's my
Please
point.
give us
That's
the
why
horse
I'm,
armor back.
that's why I'm saying it's like death by many cuts, or I suppose death by many cuts is probably the wrong thing. It's like normalization by extremes,
Yeah.
almost, right? What
Things
is
get worse and worse.
It's like they've shifted the window.
Great political tension.
No.
That's a joke.
No more
Oh my God.
politics.
I know exactly where you're
They've
going.
taken,
with that.
they've taken it to the extreme, so this looks more normal by comparison, is basically what I was getting at.
So, and to tie it back to a point that you made earlier on with regards to
Sleeping got a bit
labeling, like saying put gambling on the label. Do you actually think that will make any difference? To our point of earlier on,
It would raise the rating
it will
immediately.
raise the rating, but will that make a difference to the consumption?
It may.
It might.
But the thing is, a lot of the loot boxes come from people with potentially either lots of funds, like us, or people that have attached credit cards to the accounts that aren't theirs, like their parents.
Or they have severe gambling problems and they forego things like eating or paying bills in order to continue playing.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I would see that as a rare case. If they're gambling addicts, they're probably getting a fix from something other than loot boxes. They've probably got multiple streams of gambling.
Okay, let me
It is a dangerous way for someone to relapse.
I was going to
into
say,
addiction,
let me take a different approach. I think by our generation, it's pretty clear that most people consider pokies, kind of a bit of a waste of time. I mean, they're not. I mean,
there's people that play them in our generation for sure.
yeah,
But
but
it's like a
use
casual
is
pastime.
maybe declining.
Like you happen to be around, there happens to be a pokey, I
you-
might spend
you
a few
go-
bucks on it.
Yeah, but you go to an RSL and the regulars are not our age.
Yeah.
No,
Yes,
that's true.
That yes.
So,
But that's just true of an
so
RSL.
somebody who's our age is much more likely to
Gamble on
interact
a video game.
with
Sports bet.
sports bet, or I was actually
Online poker.
or I was going to say a gambling like economy, like loot boxes in a mobile game.
I was just going to go
We're
with
selling skins. Gonna hit that jackpot.
to call out Friendly Geordies. I think you did a video on this. It's like nothing's more Australian than having a punt, and that's what it is. It's all those sport.
Yeah.
It's sports bets. It's Tom Waterhouses and
it's
all those
almost
apps.
like people don't know that they're going to be a problem gambler until they become a problem
I'm
gambler.
actually surprised-
So somebody who might for whatever reason might be predisposed to being a problem gambler, but would have gone through life never experiencing that, might accidentally fall into the microtransaction hole.
Or someone that's just trying to get away from
Yeah.
their other gambling issues. In
Picks up
general
another one.
sport, starts playing Overwatch just to play a game because they want to play a game, and then sees a gambling mechanic, and then
It gets drawn
then
right back.
dives
in.
then they're like, I'm going to buy 60 boxes. I'm going to get all the epic legendary skins. It's going to be great.
and it's just collecting it.
Anyway,
There's no even real payoff.
To bring it back to the topic, there was I cannot remember the board, but it was basically like one of those lobbyist groups, which basically said we look forward to sharing our views on the topic with the Australian government or something like that, and it just made me laugh because it's just like for them it's about self-regulation versus government-enforced regulation, right? They don't want government regulation because government regulation costs them money. Yes. They want to self-regulate, aka not do anything,
not do shit. Yeah.
and just continue peddling their bullshit, basically.
And on that note, I think we have talked a lot.
We certainly have.
All about governments, taxes,
and
fun shit that
we hate the government.
About.
We love the government. We hate the government. You love the government.
And why is the government not doing anything about it?
Join your local socialist party.
Watch Friendly Geordies.
For those of you that have listened
Renew your
through,
Labour membership.
for those of you that have listened through all of this
I'm not a Labour
political
member.
bullshit,
Put that out
thank
there.
you very much. We love you for putting up with our dumb ramblings. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. Check out some more of our content. Let us know what you think about any of the random crap that we talked about.
Join us on Discord.
Jump onto Discord. Get the conversation happening then. If there's any news or gaming related topics that you do want us to discuss, throw them at our faces and we'll catch that shit. And I think that's it.
Recommendations?
Oh man, we have no time. Okay, quick fire. Any recommendations?
Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight.
I'll follow that up. I have no idea.
Okay. Ryan.
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go.
Especially if you haven't. Especially if you're one of those people that go, Pokemon, bit naff, don't really care. I reckon you'd probably enjoy it. It's just casual. It's
And
you can just play it casually.
I think I've mentioned it before because we're talking Dark Souls-y type stuff. Lords of the Fallen. I'm really liking that at the moment. All right, sweet. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much, guys. And we'll catch you guys later.
Farewell,
Bye.
comrades.